Rob Tebbutt here for Boxing News, joined by IBF flyweight champion of the world, Sonny Edwards. We're at Steel City Gym in the Steel City of Sheffield. How are you, Sonny?
Yeah, good. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me down. Are you in your withdrawn mode at the minute now? You just promised me beforehand we could get one of the many different faces of Sonny Edwards. Which one are we going to get for this interview?
I'm not sure. Maybe the quiet and reserved one that doesn't say much.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll last very long. How have you been? I haven't seen you since your dramatic unveiling at the Anthony Joshua fight week. You are, of course, now a Matchroom boxing fighter. How have you been? What have you been up to?
In the gym, to be honest. In the gym, around before and after the announcement. I'd been in training, I'd been sparring, I'd been helping other fighters prepare, sort of waiting for my behind the scenes to sort of get through whatever we needed to get sorted out. And then, yeah, I took a fight probably at shorter notice than maybe most world champions would take one. 7 weeks, I had a holiday booked for the day after. I had to cancel that. The next day I was meant to be going on holiday, got the phone call. So, yeah, just stayed in the gym, really. I think I'm looking forward to it.
Now, when we spoke on the day that you were unveiled as a Matchroom fighter, of course, as always, you've spoken, as you have done throughout your career, about one of the biggest challenges next. You want unification, you want this, you want that. Hasn't quite ended up that way with the opponent that you're facing on June the 10th. Talk to us about kind of the mechanics behind that, how you ended up with this opponent and not one of those unification bouts that you were looking for.
Well, you've got a ghost, a coward, and a broken jaw at the moment. I think that's the story of the three opponents. Dalakayan can't get a response from. Martinez wants £1 million. Bam Rodriguez looked like it was going to get there after his fight, and then he came out with a broken jaw. He didn't fit my timeline, so I weren't delaying or stalling anymore as much as I wanted unifications. You know what I mean? I've got mouths to feed. You know what I mean? So I've got to keep my career going on. I'm in a great position with Matchroom Sport, with Eddie Hearn, with The Zone, where no matter who I'm fighting, it's good business for me, I suppose. But yeah, still the intentions have always been the same. Go hard or go home. I'm at the stage now where I genuinely think I'm the best in the world at flyweight, probably at super flyweight, and maybe even bantamweight as well. Genuinely, right now, I feel like I could do any three of those weights against anyone in them. The only thing that's stalling me right now is wanting to do it the right way. I've got the IBF. I want to clear up the WBC, WBO, the WBA, the ring at flyweight, and then do it all over again at super flyweight, and do it all over again at bantamweight. And I don't think there's anyone around right now that would stop me.
Your opponent, Andres Campos, how much do you know about him? Obviously, Chilean, not most well-known fighter that, well, certainly on this shore. What can you expect from him? Have you watched much of him? Will you watch much of him ahead of the 10th?
Does anyone care?
I care.
But does anyone else? It's the Edgewood show this time. I think everyone's expecting the same when they see Sonny Edwards versus unnamed opponent we never heard of. A convincing win. I've heard of him for a while. He's been calling me out on social media, and his, I don't know, hundreds or thousands, maybe, I doubt it, Chilean fans have been tagging me relentlessly over the past few years, really. He's been trying to get this opportunity. He's here now. He was probably the only one that would accept it at 7 weeks. I mean, it's not like I had this date and was aiming for it for a long time. I got asked, will you save the show on the 10th of June? No one else wants to headline it. So, yeah, I will. 7 weeks notice. Who can you get? They sent 3 opponents. This was the only one that said yes. I didn't care. It doesn't matter to me. If it's not Martinez, if it's not Bam Rodriguez, if it's not Dalakayan right now, like, who cares who it is? It's the flyweights. No one really cares.
With that being said, headlining in London, of course, your original hometown. You've got a few scattered across the UK. But does that give you that kind of, not that you're not going to be motivated because you're defending your world title, but it's not a unification fight. It's not a big stellar name. It's an opponent that many people will expect you to win and win well. Does the fact that you're headlining in your Matchroom boxing debut give you that little added bit of extra motivation?
Yeah, and I feel like London's my hometown as well as growing up, so it's always proud to represent. Yeah, obviously my adult life, my boxing career has taken me, to Sheffield, and I've been here for the last 9 years now, so it is good that I kind of got two that I can fluctuate between. But yeah, I don't know, I think I might be a bigger draw in Sheffield. I just naturally think that. I think I've seen more faces as an adult in Sheffield. I think the turnout of my last fight and, sort of what's waiting for me to come back here again. So that is still going to be, maybe where I kind of want to set base. But, if they've got a venue that needs a fighter in it for London, then we go there. And I've got people down there, and I've got friends, and I've got family down there. So there'll be a lot of familiar faces. All the venues and the arenas are familiar. I've probably boxed all of them before. Yeah, with me, I will generally box anywhere. I know a lot of fighters say it. I generally will. I've boxed in the middle of, in the middle of Dubai outside. Fuck's sake. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I will box anywhere that boxing takes me. I didn't ever want to be a world champion and, just defend it against the easiest European opponents, try and get some domestic world title fights. Like, nah, I want to take every single corner of the world. I want to take the biggest challenges, the biggest threats. 19-0 don't mean nothing to me. 20-0 don't mean nothing to me. 30-0 won't mean nothing to me if it's not got genuine fighters, genuine contenders on that record. And that's all I'm after right now. Like I said, I'm 27 years old now. If not now, when? I'm the best fighter in the world. I'm the best flyweight in the world. I don't think any of these are remotely going to beat me. And I think that's why it's been hard to see the fight. I think deep down they know it. I think deep down their corners know it. I think deep down their managers know it. I make fighters that are very, very good. I've had a career of looking very, very good, very, very dangerous, very, very explosive, and I make them look way below average for 12 rounds, to the point every single time someone gets at the ring with me, everyone thinks they're finished.
Do you think if it wasn't for the jaw injury, you would have got the Bam Rodriguez fight? Do you think that would have happened?
Yeah. Bam is probably the closest version of a Sonny Edwards from a different part of the world I've seen. Look at our ages, look at our ambition, look at our intent of taking fights, making fights. I respect him a lot. Outside of the ring, how he approaches his boxing career, how he believes in himself, that's a threat, that's a challenger to me. That's like someone I would challenge across the world, excited to fight. Because so far there's not been many even remotely competitive rounds that I get in boxing. In a fight, outside of a fight, in sparring. It doesn't happen often. So, seeing that fighter that's had all the success, maybe the lights now, done stuff that he weren't supposed to, where people probably would have advised against historically. Don't jump up 2 weights and fight him at a week's notice. But that's all stuff that I could get behind as a fighter and as a fan. So he makes sense. As I would see him as the biggest threat, the biggest challenge. So yeah, we'll go him first. If then the marketability that I win from that fight then finally seduces Martinez and Eddie Reynoso and whoever else is dealing with his career, to finally take a proper fight against me, then hopefully it does. But you know what I mean? I don't think I'll ever get it until maybe I cross a Bam, and even maybe another fight after that as well. Martinez asking for millions to fight me, and I've said that, and that's the truth.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be quite a lot of respect for Bam Rodriguez. It doesn't strike me as there's an awful lot for Julio Cesar Martinez. Would that be accurate?
Well, if we really want to unpack it, like, he hit my brother 10 seconds late on the floor, even though he already had him beat. Then he failed a drugs test post-fight. Then got, that's okay. You know what I mean? He's pulled out of numerous fights. He has made no real intention to fight me when we'd agreed it, or when it'd gone, then they'd turn around and ask for over £1 million to fight. Why would there be? He also messages me on Instagram telling me, yeah, when we fight, we must make history, the biggest flyweight money ever. Because that's all he cares about, money. I don't. He's messaging me, I've already accepted to fight him for whatever money that we'd already accepted. Like, I don't need every bit of juice out of the squeeze. I don't need, I need to get the extra 50 grand or the extra 70. What is that? It's immaterial. I want to fight because I believe in myself that much that I get in, and then I really embarrass him, and all of a sudden, oh wow, we've seen this kid before. We've seen him walk through people. We've seen him knock out people. We've seen what he done to his brother. Yada yada yada. And then I go and do that to him. That's what I want. That's what means more to me than any financial gain. So I'm not gonna lose that fight. I'm not stupid, but I'm not going to lose that fight on the negotiation table. And the fact that I know, because I could open up an Instagram message from him and prove it. He wants history-defining flyweight money. They've asked the zone for 7 figures to fight me. To fight me. 4 knockouts. Because they know what it does to him. They know how stupid he potentially looks. Ridiculously. And the longer they can hold on to me, I'll keep winning. They probably know that. I think they know that I'll beat Bam. I think they know that a lot of things. I think that corner of the world really does rate me, and that's why they stay so far away. No matter what I say, no matter how I try and antagonize or draw them out. You know what I mean? They're not... Where's that Mexican pride that wants them to come over and knock out a British fighter like they do everyone else? Seems to stop from me. It's a bit weird.
What did you make of his performance a couple of weeks ago?
Didn't watch it, fell asleep.
Have you gone back and watched it?
I watched Knockout. Same as every other one looks. He just throws wild shots that he would never hit me with in a month for Sundays. And then the referee jumped in. Maybe a bit early for me, I don't know. Maybe not. He was still on his feet.
What do you think is a realistic timeline for... So the Bam fight seems as though, and certainly from what you've said there, the more likely option. We spoke to Eddie Hearn the day after Canelo Ryder, of course, where Martinez boxed Ronald Batista. He said that he felt like it was most likely going to be Martinez versus Dalakien, and then you against Bam Rodriguez. Do you think that's probably the path that it will take? Yeah,
the only thing I've said is don't let them two fight each other. Don't let Bam and Martinez fight each other. I'm pissed. That's the only thing. I want both of them. I want to fight both of them. I don't want one of them to get away from me, really. I would want Martinez to beat Dalakien, not because I like him more, not because of anything, just because I don't want to fight him. I'd want him to be the last one left, if that is how it goes. But I'll fight any of them. I'd prefer to fight Bam, Martinez and Dalakien, to be honest.
You mentioned earlier about super flyweight, which of course you've boxed that before, and bantamweight, which you spoke. I mean, I think you spoke to me on camera before about doing featherweight one day. How soon do you think? Do you think that there will become a time where you look at super fly? I mean, you look obviously you can make the weight well at flyweight, but do you think that there's a time where you kind of go, okay, I'm not going to get these unification fights for whatever reason? You can go and try and grab a fight with an Ioka or a Chocolatito or somebody like that before they hang up their gloves, because they're legends who don't have an awful lot of time left.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm in a rush to sort of just sneak in at the end of someone's career, but usually it's like the biggest names are always going to be the fighters that's had a 15-year career to just build it, and they're going to have the biggest names. It's going to be the biggest profile, the biggest platform. It might not even be right there, the dangerous opponent there, but you get the praise as if it was. It would be an honour to share the ring with someone like Gonzalez, Ioka, someone that I've looked at doing it for so many years at the weights that I operate at. But of course, there's not, like I said, one person I'm scared to get in the ring with. I'll find out how good I am in the boxing ring. I've never hesitated. I'll get in with anyone. Lightweights can walk in the gym when we're getting in. Just right now, I've always had, probably enough sense and enough leverage to not have to do anything. Some say stupid. I class as fun. There's going to be a time that, I get a fun contract in boxing. It don't matter what weight I go. It don't matter whatever fight makes sense goes. And, when I haven't got the world title, the world number one, or the undisputed, and like that clear path set out in front of me, what I'm trying to achieve, that's what it will be. Oh, there's a fight at flyweight, alright then, go down there. Oh, next fight's at featherweight, European title, alright, go up there. Next one's at bantamweight, world title, go down there. I would genuinely do that because I can manipulate my body and weight like drop of a hat. I can go from 60 kilos to 50.8 kilos in a matter of 2-3 days and be healthy doing it. Like, weight's never been an issue for me. Like, whatever weight I want to walk around at. I've gone all the way up to 67, 68, 70 kilos before. 14 weeks later, I'm winning titles. So, weight's not an issue for me. Boxing is not an issue for me. Getting willing, competitive opposition that anyone has heard of. Now, that is the biggest challenge I've faced.
As somebody who's not at flyweight anymore, who I still, from a fan perspective, would like to see you lock horns with in the future, is Junto Nakatani. He returns this weekend against Andrew Moloney. What do you make of that fight?
I like the Moloney brothers in the sense I think they don't do much wrong. I don't think they excel at anything, but they don't do much wrong. They're sound fighters. Nakatani's good though. I rate Nakatani. He's got a very good ring IQ, his awareness, he's heavy-handed. He doesn't give him too many opportunities. He's quite relentless. He's got good output. Yeah, just a well all-round fighter. Sort of typically what you expect from a world-level Japanese fighter, I'd say. Probably like a slightly smaller version, maybe not as good version of a Inoue type. Just dangerous. Can hit hard, but also can box very well. I favour Nakatani. I do rate him. But yeah, it's just sort of putting the pennies in that. Hopefully Nakatani wins, because it's just putting the pennies in that New Year's Japan fight that I'm craving and have been. I will not fight a Japanese fighter outside of New Year's. I want to fight him on New Year's.
But for people who haven't heard you talk about that, I mean, I don't know where they've been in Sonny Edwards interviews because you spoke about it a lot, but to give people an insight as to what the Japanese New Year's bout means for you.
It just looks like more of a fucking 20,000 people in an arena. Do you know what I mean? Something I want. Something I want that's hard to get in flyweights. Because when you're fighting 19 people, 20 people in a row, that not out of your fault of your own, just that people don't really know enough because the division hasn't been invested in that highly. Like, if I get the fights that I need back to back to back, my whole profile, my whole position of career is completely different. The availability to get the other fights on the other side of that as well, completely different. Just being involved in those events, let alone winning, standing up a very good fighter on the side of the head, which I think I'm going to do every single time. It just opens the doors. We've seen it time and time again with boxing. But yeah, I've only ever got fighters that want to fight me when they've got A, nothing else, or B, they're at the end of their careers. That's the only fighters I've had. Anyone ever to any level, Southern area level, English level, you had like your Joe Mafoses, Harvey Horns saying no to fights with me. Wouldn't fight me for the British. No one in Britain, as you know, Rob, would fight me for the British title. International, I had to just get obscure ones that had to come over with half decent records, some good knockouts, like decent ranking, would just fight anyone. Didn't even at world level, I had to go through the unbeaten in 13 years route. And then Alvarado really my next big challenge. Just come up as champion, avoided in his own right in his weight class. Came up pretty much as the number one. Challenged me directly, and I came straight away mandatory, easy to make, and beat him as well. And still probably not getting the credit I deserve for any of these sorts of wins. I mean, Mavrittis and Alvarados of the world are probably every bit as good as a Martinez. Probably better. Probably every bit as good as a Bam Rodriguez. Probably better, in my opinion. But you don't get the credit.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, because they haven't, fought in one fight where everyone's like, he's really good. And that's it. Because they haven't had that profile. They haven't had that one event, the Canelo undercard, and then they had that fight, and then they had a little bit more, oh my God, we got an American 23-year-old. Let's put him the full luxury package of promotion. That's what flyweights always miss. There's only one every blue moon that gets it. And when they do a few, you could name, like, from the Superfly era, you could name 4, 5, 6 names because they was putting the events on. But it's actually about, the promotion. It's about giving it the big fight effect. If you're only doing it when Canelo comes in town or AJ comes in town or, big fighters come, then don't ever expect them divisions to do anything past people just, who cares about them?
I think certainly for Umtulani, he kind of was around and dominant in a period that was slightly before that Tom Loeffler Superfly era. But it looks as though, I mean, even with kind of Sarisiket, Quadras, Chocolatito, Estrada coming to the end of their career, you still got likes of yourself, Nakatani, Martinez, Bam Rodriguez kind of on the way up. And
you got a few coming through as well.
Yeah. So
there's loads, but I'll fight any of them. Like, and it's always been that way. Like, actually look at my career. I don't hesitate to fight. Like, I don't get scared. There isn't one man that puts fear into me that walks this earth. It doesn't happen. Like, genuinely, I know people probably think, I'm delusional, just saying it because it sounds good. It doesn't happen, Rob. Probably why I find it so easy to run my mouth, because I'm always ready to deal with the consequences. There's not one instance that I fear. I've seen it all. Like, more than people even can begin to imagine. Like, getting in a ring, no matter who it is, they could have 100 knockouts from 70 fights. Don't care. There's not one person you can build up and think, oh, what about him? You scared of him? No. Genuinely no. Weights above? No. No. It's frustrating that people even question it. I'll fight anyone. I'll end up biting off more than I can chew probably multiple times. Going up 4 or 5 weights and fighting the killer no one wants to fight. That's when I'll probably find out, fucking hell, boxing is hard. Last 17, 18 years, boxing ain't been hard. Any fight I lost as an amateur, razor thin, probably didn't lose it. Nothing fight. Probably didn't lose it. Every fight I've had as a pro, only one winner come the final bell. Only one winner come the 3rd, 4th round, really. What's the closest fight I've had? Really?
Alvarado, probably.
I didn't think it was close. I won the first 7 rounds and made sure I won the fight. That's not a close fight. If it was one round, that's a close fight. If I've gone 70 points up, you have to put me down. You have to stop me. If you don't do that, I've won the fight. That's not a close fight to me, no matter how you chop it up. Just because I'm making sure I don't get stopped. I'm making just the rounds like close and competitive and making every little bit just using his energy. And that's not a close fight either. I wouldn't say. It weren't, oh, where did that go? No way. You could count the clear rounds. Not a close fight. Majority, in my opinion, 7 rounds up. What do I do against the real threats? Get 7 rounds up and make sure they don't stop me. Billy Joe Saunders taught me that one.
Right, I haven't actually spoke to anybody. I've done a few interviews today, and I've not spoken to anybody about fights that don't mean anything to them. But seeing as you're now also a commentator, as well as IBF flyweight world champion, I thought I'd ask for your input on a few fights that we've got coming up this weekend. First and foremost, Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron for the undisputed 140-pound title. I think it's a really, really good fight. I think it's a... well, actually, doesn't matter what I think. I want to hear what you think about that fight.
First of all, how good was that picture? Both of them stood there with 5 belts each, and then Chantel had the IBO stuck on the side. That's boxing legacy. No matter how you chop it up, 2 undisputed fighters getting in the ring, risking it all on a massive platform in one fighter's big homecoming. That's what it's all about. I can't wait to watch it. If I weren't fighting, I'd be making my way over there. Definitely to go and see that and experience that. Katie Taylor's had a very good innings. More personally, I know Chantel better. So I'm probably, on the British side for this one. But both great fighters. Katie Taylor has set off, especially this part of female boxing, and really spearheaded it and really bring it in the forefront. She's an inspiration for fighters, for female athletes, for females. Across the world, I generally believe. So I think what she's done and the way she's done it, and she's kind of shown that like nice people can really, go the whole way. I feel like I don't think I've ever seen her say anything with a bit of spite or animosity come out of her body. She just had a massively hard fight, and she just seems so lovely. But yeah, I think it is probably getting to the stage where it's more of a time when, if I'm putting my hand up and playing devil's advocate, I think, in my eyes, if no one else is, she's probably lost a few of her fights over the last few years. And I think Chantel Cameron, have a bit of a size advantage, a bit of a youth advantage, maybe even a bit of a form advantage. I don't know. I'm kind of backing Chantel for this one. I do think she's a very good fighter, and she's been a handful since, I was training alongside her on the GB days. She's always been a good fighter. Obviously, Katie's always been special, but I think it's getting to that stage, Katie's career, where if she does get through this, how many more is she going to go? Eventually, father time, mother time, I guess in this case, catch up with everyone. And when it happens in a boxing ring, sometimes it's like you fell off a cliff, The difference might be 1%, 2%, 3%, but, it looks like you're falling off a cliff.
And final one from me, Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko, undisputed lightweight titles on Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada. You're quite nocturnal. You're very similar to me, so I don't know whether or not you're planning on staying up for that one, but I know it's a fight that you'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, to quote a cliche boxing porn, I feel like it's probably not going to be a fight someone that tunes into, every heavyweight fight that Britain has is going to enjoy. I think it's going to be very tactical. I think it's going to be very patient at times, maybe not engaging at times. Both fighters trying to break down each other's minds more than body. I think neither of them will go in there trying to physically tear apart the other person. I think it's more about getting the advantages, setting the traps, and imposing their identity on the fight. How does Lomachenko do it against Haney? I think it's a harder job for him to do, how he would want to. Sort of cutting the angles, staying close, landing at range, but then being able to step in and land. I think Haney is every bit as good at knowing where he is in the ring. I think he's every bit of good of not putting himself in compromising positions before punches get in there. He usually sets up at the post very well, just at the edge of range, and his edge of range will probably be in range compared to Lomachenko's. So I don't know, I think Haney's definitely got some advantages for the stylistic to how their bodies partner up as well, the size, the youthfulness. Haney does very few things wrong. He's very good at adjusting his feet at the right time, scoring with a jab in between the times of nothing happening, and then walking someone onto, a clean backhand, a little 1-2, just to keep the score ticking over and it looking like it's in his favour. I don't want to write off, because that sounds very disrespectful to a genuine legend of the sport. There might be some people that might think that's a bit far-fetched, but when you come with a 396-1 amateur record, winning pretty much every gold medal that you could ever think about winning in the amateurs, probably staying amateur way too long. Could you imagine if Lomachenko was a pro at 20 and had a full 15 fights to learn and then turn into could you imagine the beast that he would have became? Disappointed probably that it's not that, even though he did come and he's won world titles after world titles and mixed it against the best at every level. He never even really had the opportunity to grow into a 12-round fight. He just got thrusted into it by his ability, really. I think it's a hard ask for an older Lomachenko coming off the back of some defeats against Teofimo, but a different fight. And also, if not now, when for Lomachenko? So it might bring out that extra 10, 20, 15% that's needed to beat Haney. I don't know. I think it's very interesting, but whatever happens, I think it's won by the mind, and it's two very, very equally sharp minds. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think great fight poster. And flying under the radar, but nothing less than expected. When we look at these fights that have done the exact same thing, every time Rigondeaux was in a big fight, or the amount of times there's two amazing fighters in, and it just doesn't get the same explosion that, I don't know, two British heavyweights might get.
If I had to push you for a winner on it.
Haney.
Mentioned that Rigondeaux, it popped into my head when we were talking. So I actually saw something that Rigondeaux did an interview with Boxing Scene, I think, where he said that this is kind of, in this fight, Lomachenko is Rigondeaux and Haney is Lomachenko, referring to the size advantage. And it kind of made me think about your relationship with Rigondeaux and somebody that you admired on your way up and shared a camp with him. Tell people about kind of your relationship, as it were, with Guillermo Rigondeaux and how you admired him from afar in the start of your career.
Oh, no, it's I'll be real, they did invite me over, but I never got a chance to. And then I've been to over in Dubai, spoke to a lot of his people, people that's involved as well, and ended up in Chris. I got a bit more information, a bit more of a link out and a reach out from there as well. Just someone I looked up to from young, really. I always admired the Cubans. I think I can still remember that School of Cuba documentary and finding out when they get a nosebleed, they get stopped. It's oh, no wonder why they don't get hit with no shots. It's always really good. Really good, really meticulous with where he put his body, giving very, very few opportunities for the opponent to land, throwing spiteful shots and hurting people in his own right, taking any fight, even when, let's be real, he was probably really a superfly bantamweight. He probably was never any of the weights he fought as a professional boxer. He would never go up weight. He didn't even look any bigger from the weigh-in to the next day. And I mean, it's no secret, but his age as well. He come through his time where he probably had to change his age at some point as well, allegedly reluctantly, just because of the amateur circuit back in the day. So what age he is at, I don't know, but whatever he was doing 2 years ago, when really he should have beat Casemiro at, I don't know, whatever age he is, whatever age you say he is, it's ridiculous. What a legend. I think one of my favourite fighters that did it all time, and I think Rigondeaux versus Donaire, that fight there, I remember being at Repton at the time, and I remember really speaking about it with Umar Sadiq, top boxer Sadiq, and that was one of the first fights I'd really, really, really got excited for, because it was someone that I'd followed through the amateurs, and then they were coming up against obviously the sort of seasoned pro in Donaire, and then for Rigondeaux, who I was obviously supporting and backing, winning the fight, and the way he did, and it was entertaining, and yeah, that really kind of cemented it at my young impressionable age of maybe 16, 17, and have to check the dates. Maybe a bit younger than that. That's my guy. So yeah, I've always respected him, always looked up to him, and it's another one of those where if he was a pro from 20 years old, I think that's the common theme with a lot of these amateurs that are excellent amateurs, is they leave their best years in the amateur game. For me, turning over at 24, 25 is too late. for me personally. Not too late to do anything, but if you want to be the best in the world professional boxer, I think it's too late. I think look at all the people that do them Olympic cycles and they've been, the second or third string and then the second string and then they finally got to the Olympics. Usually by the time they go pro, they spent too much. They haven't really got it in them. I could sit here and name and disrespect and upset a few people, but I don't really need to, because if they're listening, they probably know it's them. And, if not, we can just see the examples. I feel like you spend too long trying to master being a 3-round fighter. You don't give yourself the amount of time you need to become a 12-round fighter. And I think that's one of my biggest advantages. From a kid, I was sparring 8, 10, 12 rounds just because I love sparring. I love being in the ring. So then the transition for me was easy. I can remember being a 15, 16-year-old that never boxed more than 3 2-minute rounds, that was getting in the ring and sparring 10 3-minute rounds with Ian Bailey or Ian Napper. Professionals at this time that were knocking people out and that, and all like veteran, and doing all the rounds and always having the engine. So I've always been ahead of my time. And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of these talented fighters make. They stay way too long in the amateurs.
I had this conversation actually with Andy Clark a couple of weeks ago, and he said about Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson kind of the perfect trajectory. Got silver, I think he was 19 when he got silver, and then went straight into the pros, and that's why you'll kind of see him for his career take off in the way that you've just described. Yeah, and I feel like I would always advise them to never turn pro before you've had a season in the amateurs, but once... Yeah, a season in the seniors in the amateurs. And I think once you've had that and you've been in the ring with men, then it's time to start looking. Say if you've got something in that cycle ahead of you, an Olympic in the next 3 years, 4 years, I can understand it. But anything more than that, 2 cycles, I think is way too long for a boxer. And I think usually if you're talking about this country, a fighter will be depressed and miserable spending too long on GB to even be able to ever have a good fight. And their mind will be warped to like, oh, we're important because we have a GB tracksuit on, and oh, we're going to win this fight just because we're getting paid £750 a month. Like, it really does sort of switch up some people's heads, and it turns them into shit guys, I'll be real. There's a few shit guys in boxing. There's a few very shit guys. And a few of them come off the GB scene as well. Okay, we won't delve too much deeper into that one. We'll keep it PG for this one. Before I let you go, I kind of alluded to it about 5-10 minutes ago when we were talking about your analysis. You've been enjoying your commentary work. You've been getting rave reviews. Usually kind of commentary is a nice, cheap, easy dig on social media, but you've done quite well with it, I think. You know what it is? I don't try to force any narrative down anyone's throat. Like, I will watch boxing and speak it. I like attaching a little sense of humour. I don't like having a shit time, so... I'm finding it funny. I think everyone else might. I'm not doing nothing cancelable or saying anything disrespectful, but sometimes there's a pun or two in there that might get a giggle, a cheap laugh. And I don't know. I want to enjoy it. 2, it's just having a conversation. Like, I talk about boxing, as you know, all the time. There's not really much more interesting, overwhelming in my life, and and I think DAZN and Eddie enjoyed me too. I think I was only meant to do the before the bell 2 hours slot. And then I think by the 3rd fight, I was told that, they want you for the main event. And then by the end of the zone, can you just do the whole card except one fight? Sound. Why not? I'm at every show anyway. If they want me on commentary, I'll do commentary. It went down well. It was received well. So, I've already got a few more gigs. Not dates lined up, but, I've got a few assurances that I'm getting a few more. So, yeah, that side of my game... I'll always look to improve. I've looked, reached out to a few other commentators, as it were, for some feedback. Just because at the same time, I'm very much jumping in and freestyling. I've done a few times commentary, and I've done I remember the Jay Harris vs Sandoval. I've done a few other fights. I've done a few small hall shows, GBM shows, Boxing King Media platforms. I enjoy it. So. Who knows, that might be something that I get to really do and really sort of work on later. I feel like, I've said numerous times, I've been boxing since I was 9 years old. I've been a pro since I was, turning 20, I think, or turning 21, 20. I was a student before that and on Team GB. I've never worked a day in my life. I've been of independent means since 18. I ain't never had no handouts. I ain't never had no, rich uncle give me 500 grand to get my boxing career off the way. Like, it's never happened. I've done it all from what I do in the ring and the hard way, and putting myself out there and providing for myself, and then since providing for my family. And boxing has allowed me a vehicle to do it very seamlessly and probably thrive in the space and the age that I'm in, and always have been.
So for me, the biggest priority in my career-wise is to make sure that I never have to work a day in my life, and going and staying in hotels down London and, you know, speaking about boxing for a few hours or doing it in Cardiff, or like, that's never worked to me. Like, that's something I'd be doing anyway. So, you know, if I can keep that up, keep my boxing career up to a good stage, you know, I'm managing fighters, looking after fighters. We've got Thomas Asomba in a European title on this weekend, so good luck to him. Against Alexander La Rosso, I believe his name is, from Italy, in Italy. So hopefully he gets that bantamweight EBU European title, the proper one, and then, you know, that sets him up for a great, you know, twilight age of his career. So I've already got things going on behind the scenes, things I don't even talk about. But I'm just enjoying my life. I'm just, you know, trying to stick to what's important: my family, my friends, the people that have been around me and supported me, and just keep, you know, giving boxing what it's given to me. And that's pretty much everything. So that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, well, just to echo that, best of luck to Thomas Asomba. Got a lot of time for Thomas Asomba, as you know. So best of luck to him this weekend. But Sonny Edwards, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing News. My first interview with you on Boxing News.
I can't keep up with you, Rob. Every time it's a new channel. What is going on? You had more rebrands than fucking Richard Branson.
Well, I think this one's probably going to be the last one for a while.
Okay, then.
I think we're pretty settled.
Well, now you've acquired the biggest name in boxing.
Yeah, I think
makes sense.
I think this is probably as good a time as any to bed in for the distance.
So where do I get my column? When are we going to talk about that?
Speak to Matt Christie. Thanks very much.
Cheers.